22 Golden Age actresses who lost their beauty in tragic ways. What happens when the world's most beautiful faces start to fade? Slowly, suddenly, or in the bright lights of a camera that never stops? What? Hollywood's Golden Age treated beauty like money, but behind the shine were women who paid a huge price for it. Some disappeared from movies after sickness or scandals. Others fought time with surgery, pills, or keeping quiet and lost. The changes you're about to see aren't just about getting old. They're about an industry that turned women into goddesses, then dumped them when their perfections started to crack. What makes our number 2 entry super shocking is how far this actress fell, from starring with Hollywood legends to being found on Skid Row, unrecognizable to fans who loved her just years before. Before we start this trip through Hollywood's dark side, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below and tell me. I read everyone and love connecting with fellow old movie fans around the world. These 22 stories aren't just about getting old, no matter what. They're about accidents that stole youth in a flash, sicknesses that wrecked perfect faces, addictions that swelled or hollowed once glowing faces, and mental breakdowns that killed the spark in captivating eyes. Some of these women were victims of things they couldn't control. Others got trapped by the very systems made to keep their beauty. A few picked paths that changed how they looked. All of them remind us of the weakness behind the forever images saved on film. Let's count down 22 of Hollywood's most stunning beauties and the often sad ways their looks were changed, damaged, or destroyed, sometimes along with their careers and lives. Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn, with her graceful features, swan-like neck, and large doe eyes, changed beauty rules in the 1950s. Like the curvier bodies of stars like Marilyn Monroe, Hepburn's skinny elegance brought a fancy European style to Hollywood. Her amazing acting in movies like Roman Holiday, Sabrina, and Breakfast at Tiffany's made her a forever ever icon. However, in her last years, the very slimness that defined her became a sign of her struggle. In 1992, Hepburn got a rare belly cancer that made her already tiny body super weak. Her last public shows revealed a woman whose once lively beauty was hidden by the hard truths of sickness, her famous cheekbones now sharp against a hollow face. Despite her pain, Hepburn kept doing her helper work as a UNICEF ambassador, traveling to Somalia just months before her death. Even in her weak state, she insisted on finishing her job, showing an inner strength that matched her earlier grace. Hepburn passed away in January 1993 at the age of 63. Unlike many others, her beauty was never ruined by scandal or addiction. Instead, her body decline only made her lasting elegance stronger, showing that true beauty is in toughness and grace under pressure. Her son, Sean Ferrer, later wrote that Hepburn's beauty was not in her looks, but in her spirit, kindness, and her never-stopping love for the causes she cared about. With her striking red hair and piercing green eyes, Susan Hayward went from modeling to one of Hollywood's top drama actresses, earning 5 Oscar nods and winning for I Want to Live. Her pale skin and bright colors made her perfect for Technicolor, but her beauty and health would be sadly wrecked by one of Hollywood's scariest disasters. In 1956, Hayward filmed The Conqueror in Snow Canyon, Utah, located just over 130 miles from a Nevada nuclear test site. Unbeknownst to the cast and crew, the area was full of radioactive dust from government atom bomb tests. No warnings were given. By the late 1960s, Hayward's health got worse. Once glowing, she became pale and had constant headaches. In 1972, she was told she had brain cancer. Treatment left her swollen, her famous red hair thinning, and her eyes dulled by pain pills. She was not alone. Of the 220 people in the film, 91 later got cancer, including stars like John Wayne and Agnes Moorehead, a super high rate tied to the Poison filming spot. For entering the 74 Academy Awards, Hayward made a final show to give an award. Visibly weak and with heavy makeup to hide her sickness, her change shocked viewers. She died just 2 months later at 57. Hayward's sad end is now tied to The Conqueror, remembered as the movie that killed John Wayne and Susan Hayward. A scary reminder of how carelessness and secrets can destroy even the brightest star. Ava Gardner was once called the world's most beautiful animal by Hollywood. With her captivating eyes, full lips, and a walk so alluring it made filmmakers invent new camera tricks. Gardner gave off unbeatable charm. Her big roles in movies like The Killers, Magambo, and The Barefoot Contessa made her legacy as a top femme fatale. Studio bosses were reportedly shocked when they saw her first screen test. Gardner's off-screen life matched her fiery movie self. She married stars like Mickey Rooney, Artie Shaw, and Frank Sinatra, and was romantically linked to guys like Howard Hughes and George C. Scott. Known for her smoking, drinking, and intense romances, Gardner lived life her way. However, in 1986, at age 63, she had a big stroke that left the left side of her body and face paralyzed. Her famous smile became uneven, her speech was affected, and her walking got worse. For someone whose whole self was tied to beauty, the change was super painful. She pulled away from public life in London, avoiding cameras and limiting visits. Her housekeeper, Maureen Jordan, later shared that Gardner took out most mirrors from her home, unable to look at her reflection. She used a small mirror only for putting on makeup. Biographer Peter Evans described how she often hid the affected side of her face during talks. Gardner passed away in 1990, spending her final years in quiet alone time. Her once celebrated beauty changed by sickness, not too much, but by fate's unfair hand. Gail Russell, known for her haunting beauty, had a rare and dreamy presence with large blue eyes that seemed to show both innocence and ancient wisdom. Her delicate features and see-through skin made her perfect for spooky movies like The Uninvited and westerns, like Angel and the Bad Man, alongside John Wayne. Beneath her mesmerizing looks was a deep, crippling fear, found in high school, thrown into the spotlight without training. Russell's shyness and camera fear were ignored by Paramount bosses who were charmed by her natural beauty. Despite her success, Russell struggled with bad stage fright. She admitted to being terrified with her hands shaking and knees knocking during early shows. To deal with this fear, studio helpers gave her alcohol, which quickly turned into a full addiction, eventually leading to serious alcoholism. By the late 1940s, the cost of her drinking was clear. Her once perfect skin became spotty, and her once bright eyes grew cloudy. Her body went between skinny and puffy as the addiction got worse. Russell's fall became public after an arrest for drunk driving in 1957, where her mugshot showed the damage alcohol caused. Despite tries at a comeback, her getting worse condition made her uninsurable. In 1961, Russell died at the age of 36 from liver damage and alcohol-related causes. John Wayne, who had tried to help her, felt sad how the studio system destroyed one of the most beautiful and talented actresses he had known. Her sad story stays a haunting reminder of the destroying powers of both fame and addiction. Crying face Gene Tierney? John Tierney was a mesmerizing beauty known for her perfect oval face, high cheekbones, and a special overbite that grabbed audiences in movies like Laura, Leave Her to Heaven, and The Razor's Edge. Her striking looks earned her the title of unquestionably the most beautiful woman in movie history by Daryl F. Zanuck. However, behind her stunning outside, Tierney went through unimaginable pain. During her pregnancy in 1943, she got rubella after a fan broke rules to meet her. This caused her daughter to be born with severe problems, including blindness, deafness, and thinking issues. This sad event sent Tierney into depression, and by the early 1950s, she was fighting suicidal thoughts and crazy episodes. In 1953, she chose to go to the Menninger Clinic, where she had electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, which back then was much more scary than today's. The treatments, which caused wild shaking, affected her face movement and feelings, leaving a lasting change in her looks. After her treatment, people noticed a shift in her face with less emotional range and a dimmed light in her eyes. Tierney tried a comeback and Advise and Consent in 1962, but critics saw her weaker presence. Thinking back on her time, she later said, "They fixed my mind, but broke something in my face." Tierney's story is one of lost beauty, not from visible sickness or addiction, but from the quiet wearing away of the link between her soul and her expression. Hedy Lamarr was once called the most beautiful woman in the world, a title that showed her almost magical beauty. With matching features, perfect skin, and mesmerizing dark eyes, she became the perfect example of Hollywood beauty in movies like Algiers, Samson and Delilah, and Ecstasy. However, Lamarr's true smartness was in her brain as she co-invented a frequency hopping tech during World War II, which later helped make Bluetooth, GPS, and Wi-Fi. Yet her brains went mostly unnoticed by Hollywood, which cared only about her body looks. As she got older, Lamar struggled to keep the beauty that brought her fame. In the 1960s, she tried experimental beauty fixes, including collagen shots and early skin fillers. One of the worst fixes involved putting liquid silicone into her cheeks and lips, which caused forever face twists. The once perfect matching of her face became unrecognizable, and her expressions became stiff and hard. By the 1970s, Lamar pulled away from public life, and her later years were marked by staying alone. After several shoplifting events, Lamar spent her final years saying no to interviews, choosing to talk by phone instead. Lamar passed away in 2000 at the age of 85, mostly forgotten for her tech help. It wasn't until after her death that her science wins were fully noticed, showing how society valued her beauty until it faded, overlooking her smarts until too late.